Planning and Development Committee meeting for February 3rd, 2025. Councilor Andrews.
Here.
Waltney.
Here.
Wolverton.
I'm here, but I have to leave in just a minute. So.
Oh, okay. Sims.
Here.
And Miss Nelms.
So, what is that now?
He's here.
You have four.
Keep on
Okay,
going.
he's here, all right.
Roll it.
Until he's done.
So we have 4. Okay, I need a motion to dispense with the reading and approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Second.
Gwaltney and Sims the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Andrew?
Aye.
That passes 4-0.
Yes.
I got it.
All right, old business 090125, request to consider annexation of the City of Homewood for 1749 Columbiana Road, Jim Hoy Homes.
That's me, I'm here
Okay,
this time.
okay.
Sorry I missed it last time, I did have a misunderstanding with Bo on
Thank you for being
my
here.
timing. I was walking out the door at 5:15 when you guys called me to come for 6.
Ah.
So, sorry about that.
Okay, thank you so much.
So you want me to just tell a little bit?
Yes, and do you have things to show us, like maps or?
Oh, I know
stuff?
Brian's got pictures, Brian's got
Yeah, he's
pictures.
gonna pull it,
Yeah.
up. We'll just say.
Yes, and who is?
This is my builder, my partner, Dallas Bunkley.
Okay, great.
So I'm the developer, and then we have a company that we build on my lands.
Okay.
You need to get
So you want me to
And then,
start?
yeah,
on
if you'll
these?
sign in,
Okay.
please. Okay.
Sign in.
I got you,
You
Miss
got me.
Wood.
Okay, and if you'll.
Dallas Bunkley, BQ.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I bought this about 14 months ago.
Yeah, if they need to come in, I don't know if there's more people back there.
No,
No, I got that.
When the last one typed
They all
in.
came over. So we've been, for 14 months, looking at what to do, how to do, working with Arrington Engineering for topography, water flow engineering. And we went from, originally wanted to do 10 houses to doing 4. We did not want to do that much land, cause water flow problems, which 10 houses probably would have done. So we're basically going to do 4 2,500 square foot empty nester houses in the 750,000 range. There'll be a 2-car garage, flat level, living room, master bedroom, I guess it's called the main bedroom, for politically correct, and a kitchen. Upstairs will be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Like I said, in the 2,500 range. The 4 houses would go up right in a row. We've already talked to the fire department on the cul-de-sac and everything we have to put in on the road. Should be one more. There's a topography map that made us, we could have put.
So this is Columbiana here, sorry.
Yeah,
So
no.
That's Columbiana, and that's Old Columbiana Road up there. And so it stops basically where this is, and this would be projected new road coming in.
The sewer system stops, if you'll show them.
It's
So we would be,
The existing sewer is here, the curb and gutter stops here, so all this is proposed.
yeah, so we would be bringing in these 4 houses onto the sewer system, bringing in water. The fire chief said he would have a plan for us for hydrants. He's the one that told us about the rotary at the end, the turnaround for the fire truck to turn without backing up or anything. So all of this was designed with an engineer and the fire department with input from everything. So basically, we don't think we will impact nature much. We will have a complete overview from our engineers as to where to put water retention ponds underground. There'll be nothing above ground. There'll be nothing in view. So everything will be taken care of underground to not disturb neighbors. Flooding houses that already get flooded over there, I think will actually stop that problem. I know they'll have a different opinion, but I
And
think
you
with our
spoke
engineers.
Our engineers about this, our engineers.
I'm sorry,
So
what?
have you met with Mr. Hoy about this, about his water runoff, and stormwater runoff, and his?
We haven't particularly, so we haven't talked. We've
All
worked
that
with
would have to be a
Arrington.
part of permitting.
Yes, so we've worked with Arrington to get an overall concept of what needed to be done and progress down that path, but don't wanna progress down that path
Right now,
until.
without the
Right.
annexation.
Yes.
And this is unincorporated Jefferson
It
County
is Jefferson
to
County right now.
Right,
Homewood.
and, the north is Vestavia,
Mhm.
to the south and
Mhm.
east is Homewood.
This is, I think, actually, these are Vestavia.
Right.
And then it's Homewood basically all along there.
Go back to the first map, it shows a little better.
I couldn't hear him.
Go
He
back
said
to
it's just that first
Brian.
map shows
Yeah.
the,
Right.
Thank
shows
you,
the
Brian.
breakdown.
Right,
But we went through 3 or 4 or 5 different iterations of, obviously.
Blue is the county.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, so
Right.
this is the property.
Okay.
And that's where Old Columbiana Road comes in and stops. And so there's a gate here, I guess I think one of these people owned it at some point. So there's a gate and it's just all wooded and Columbiana Road Road's up here and it goes down that way, so. Different iterations that we had gone through, obviously, you know, you wanna try and maximize what you can, but knowing the impact it would have to surrounding areas, it's like, if we did more than 4 or 5, we'd have to have a retention pond, and have a homeowners association, and just all kinds of hoops and hollers that we didn't wanna have to go through, so we just realized just doing 4 individual home sites was the least impact to everybody. Kinda made the most sense for us financially and for the city to try and increase, you know, revenue that y'all could have, but not clear cut and not create this debacle that nobody around it would wanna deal with.
Right.
And to clarify, if the annexation is approved, then they would move forward with you all, we would subdivide the parcel, and it'll be zoned NPD
You have to have a subdivision.
at the planning commission, and then, it'd be a subdivision, it'd be PRD.
Well, you have to have rezone the properties, because zone.
Three things. You annex it, you subdivide it, you zone it.
And then they'd have to get building permits to
Right.
satisfy the engineering.
And just so you know, we have been building in Homewood now he's been building longer than I have, but I've been developing now for about 6 years. I've done probably 10 to 14 very nice large homes. Kale knows me.
But yeah,
we-
Kellen Lott, yeah.
We do a good job.
Do you own that other sliver that's in the county?
No, sir, no.
I
I'm
wish we
not
did-
sure who
wish we
owns
did.
that. I think I wanna think it's this property kinda owned probably all of that, and at some point subdivided it and to sell it, kids, I'm not sure what, but no, we just own what's highlighted in the red.
Because this property is adjacent to Vestavia, we have to have a hearing that would be scheduled 90 days after we publish the publication. It couldn't be effective until you have a public hearing. You can't have a public hearing until the 90 days publication is in place.
Because it's adjacent to? Okay.
Because it's adjacent to, you can only annex halfway between city limits without having this to 1942.
Basically letting them know you're annexing it into Homewood.
Correct.
Okay. That makes sense.
So I do wanna offer, I know the neighbors had come out last week and again tonight, and so if you can maybe designate one speaker, and if there's anyone that wants to just make a point, or do you all wanna wait until the public hearing, cause there will be a public hearing?
Go ahead.
Well, I'm the one that lives at 1741 Woodbine. I think all of you received videos of the flooding from the runoff of the hill. My house flooded 5 times. I called Homewood, I called Vestavia, and I called the county about the flooding. And the county went out and looked at the sewer or the stormwater runoff to see if it was there and clean it out. But Kel came out, and because it wasn't Homewood, they couldn't do anything. So my concern is, I already have a water problem. My homeowners did not pay for my damage. It flooded 5 times. And I mean, I did have to hire an engineer to come out and design it to keep the water out of my house. So now I have a river that goes down the side of my house out into the street on Woodbine. And my neighbor across the street gets the runoff, the mud, it hits her driveway and goes into it at a stage. But, I mean, I just have serious questions about this. I mean, it's rock. Are they gonna have to use dynamite? I mean, what is that gonna do to the foundation of my house? Who's gonna be responsible if my house is damaged, if the sewer, the runoff comes into my house again? I mean, those are all major issues for me.
And all of us, when we have multiple neighbors here, this is touching. I mean, I know she's talking for herself, but all of us have had to do, you know, all kinds of things like put in French drains and catchment system for our basements. And, you know, at my house, that's all my house right there, but it's flooded twice. And I had to pay out of pocket for that myself, because, you know, insurance doesn't cover any of that. So I don't think it's a good idea. And the slope is incredibly steep. So the one directly behind my house, I don't know how they're even gonna build on that slope. So
Without cutting it all out.
right, without cutting all the vegetation out, there's just no way. So please do not allow him to annex it into Homewood.
Okay, so the next motion then, the motion that I need to, for this to, move forward is to, without recommendation pending a public hearing, and to set the public hearing 90 days. What is that date?
Yeah, it'd be in May. The last time I did it was May 12th, but I have to count again.
Mhm.
And also, May 24th, or the next meeting is Memorial Day, so we need to talk about scheduling council meetings for May.
We do. Mike, I have a question. If they choose not to set a public hearing, do they have to send it out without recommendation?
No, there's no public hearing. They essentially denied the application.
Right, so you're talking about two different, I think you're talking about two different steps is my point. You're talking about, are you going to set a public hearing?
Okay.
If you want to set a public hearing, then you have to send it out without recommendation pending the public hearing.
Right.
If you don't want to set the public hearing, then it's done. So that, I think it's two different votes.
What the committee wants. not what I
Procedure.
want.
I'm speaking to the committee, not you, I apologize. But yes, I just want to be clear that it's two different votes.
And
Procedure.
the only issue is that the motion has to be made in the positive. It doesn't have to go through, but it has to be made in the positive.
Well, you don't have to set a public hearing if you're not going to consider
Right.
the petition.
There are, walking the property, I don't know if you can pull up the first image, the circle in red. There's a culvert it comes to, and I don't know if this is getting with you or whoever, but it comes to basically a basin at the bottom of it, and there's a culvert that goes through, looks like it's an easement. I would assume, I don't know, but basically right in here is like a, kind of the low-lying area, and there is a concrete pipe, probably a 16 or 24-inch concrete pipe. It looks like it goes that way towards Woodbend or Woodbine. I don't know where it was from or who did it. It looks like it runs in between the houses, like it was an easement at some point that caught some of that and tried to contain it into the stormwater system. We have not done research on that yet, but walking it, we've seen it. And it's, over time, as does most of them, dirt gets it. So I don't know if that's, the county did that, if Homewood did it at some point to try and contain it so that it's not going through their homes. I don't know who to.
Well, Homewood would have installed
Right, it would have been the county.
infrastructure and
Okay.
incorporated
Yeah.
Jefferson County.
Yeah.
But if it's here and goes that way, would
So
Homewood
that was
have done
probably all
that?
Vestavia at one point.
Was that Vestavia at some point? Was
No,
all
I
this-
think it's always been county.
That's what Suzette paid
Wait,
for.
are you talking about, just so you know, I already have another leak in my yard where there's a huge drainage pipe. I have no idea where it came from.
That's probably the one I'm talking
That's
about.
cracked, and I've got an 8-foot hole in my yard that I'll have to pay to repair.
And,
Because it's on a private yard, I mean,
yeah, I'm just curious if, like.
I
how
have
it
no
got there.
idea, I've only lived there 4 years. so.
Okay.
Does somebody back here want to talk? Go ahead.
I will briefly jump in on, my name's Ezekiel, I live at 1747 Woodbine, over on the corner of the property right here. I've been there for 16 years, my house built 1979 by the Owens. My house unfortunately has been through severe trauma over the last year, mostly ahead of my ownership. I know that the Owens, and when we purchased the property, explained to me the foundation repairs and the water issues that they dealt with. They spent, I don't know, somewhere in the ballpark of $50,000 to $60,000 restructuring the foundation and creating a water system runoff. So now when it rains, water comes directly off of that proposed parcel. It sweeps across my backyard. And one of the videos you saw earlier, if you saw that big green patch of water, I have no backyard when it rains. It shoots within about 10 feet of my house, curves around into a retaining pond, and then goes out to the front where there's a big pit. We call it the pit at my house. It's about the size of this room, and it fills up with water right there. So I'm fortunate right now, but any shift or movement around my house right now could be extremely detrimental to my property. It is uphill, and I am directly getting runoff from that property. So I share all the concerns that we have here. Furthermore, I would just, as a general point, not even to my own property, I look at Homewood as a community right now. My wife teaches in the community. I see just the strain that we now have on our schools, and I mean, a few more houses, yeah, it's a few more. These are more kids potentially coming into our neighborhoods. I don't know the numbers of the infrastructure and the resources the city has, but I see firsthand that we're strained in other areas. What's our real benefit other than some tax dollars to open the door up and potentially flood and just put more pressure on what's already just a very good, but also bubble-like community that we have now that's already so heavily strained? Thank you.
Okay, we live at 1735
Old Columbiana Road. We built 47 years ago. And yes, we have had some drainage coming down our yard, but it's coming off of Old Columbiana Road. But the way I look at it, there's very little land left in Homewood. And I'm for building the houses because our street is not very, our little area of Homewood is like the redheaded stepchild of Homewood, okay? Nobody wants to live in that area. The houses, you've got some great houses on Murray Hill.
I disagree.
Well, I would say.
Sold for $600,000 on our street.
But you have little bitty 2-bedrooms in West Hollywood that sell for more than ours will. And so I'm all for them building these houses.
So you'll
and-
get more value out of your
Yes,
house,
so
so
I'll
it's
get
a
more value
selfish
out of it.
reason.
Yeah, well,
But
are
their
y'all
houses can,
selfish?
Yours is
no, their
selfish,
houses
too.
can flood,
Our house
and they
floods
have to
too.
pay thousands of dollars for this flooding.
We have a French drain in our house too.
Okay, go ahead.
What is the process? So, I mean, I don't know much about the process, so like, when does the building start? Is it after it's annexed and then Homewood has some oversight over the process? Is
Well,
that
they would have to have it
We have no
subdivided.
oversight in the
Yeah.
county.
No, I know that, but I'm saying like they wouldn't start until they get it annexed and
No.
then
And
Homewood would have
subdivided.
oversight
And
over the permits,
rezoned.
over the building and that kind
They'd
of
have to approve
Okay.
plans.
Yeah.
So we have
So-
to present after the annexation and the next two steps, then we go to the city and present building plans for each lot. We'll have an engineer, at that point, once it's annexed, then we start spending a lot of money to get the complete engineering report and.
Water retention plans, water
Yeah.
runoff, all of that. And that's
You
what
haven't,
we
you haven't, I
require.
mean.
But where do you
Public
make it
hearings
run
every
off
step
if
of the way.
there's
There's public hearing
no?
for,
Right now.
zoning.
Does it go down in the street? Because the street off of Woodbine floods every time it rains.
Well, right now, at Homewood, just so, so you understand, it's in Jefferson County, unincorporated. We're gonna build there no matter what. We're either gonna build it in unincorporated Jefferson County, which will approve everything, or we're gonna put it in Homewood where we wanna be, who has very strict rules. So by doing it at Homewood with the county, your city engineers, the county engineers for Homewood, they are going to protect you. They're gonna be very strict on us. I've been building in Homewood for several years now. They have very strict things in order that we have to follow. So if they decide not to let us annex it, we just go to Jefferson County and say, here's our plan, we're building houses, and they're gonna say yes. They're not gonna consider you in Homewood. I hate to say it that way, but they're not gonna consider you because you're in Homewood. They're gonna consider what we wanna do in their county, where we're gonna plan on coming in and make sure that you don't get any more damage, or you don't get any damage at all.
But I don't understand how that can happen. This is an extremely steep lot, full of huge rocks, full of old growth trees. So to build 4 houses, you're gonna have to cut down
No,
most
ma'am.
of the trees.
No, ma'am, that's not right.
Yes, you
Nope.
are. To get the houses in there, you will.
No.
You'll have to flatten it at the bottom, which means
Actually,
you'll
we're
have
gonna
to.
be putting in between, you know, there's the 4, what do you call them, 4 gullies, so to speak, where I saw your water running down from one. We're literally gonna be cutting into each gully, building it into the side of the hill, creating water flow around the houses into retention ponds that will go to a huge cistern that'll hold all the water till it seeps out.
We'll do it as the engineers have designed
Right.
it,
But
which
that's
the
basically-
engineers
So
will
the system
design
is
it.
underneath these new houses?
Whatever the engineer requires us to design.
It seems like there's some discussion with the neighbors that still needs to happen as far as some details. And I know that Counselor Nelms is not here, and she's very, she's the ward representative, so, I mean, I just see that we should possibly just carry this over this evening.
May I interrupt with the proposal? I'm Walker Short. It's your better half of this. But, by the way, my family's been here since 1886, so I have a vested interest. And to tell you that I think a proposal of what they're gonna do, not that I want them to spend $300,000, $400,000 in engineering studies or whatever, can that be looked at a later date to somebody, y'all, whoever, there's a proposal of what they're gonna do, to some degree to answer to her questions. I don't have any, won't affect me. But certainly I understand her situation. But if they're gonna do all this work that they say they're gonna do, engineering, it seems like they're backing their program and their building with this. And I would propose that that be looked at just as a matter of record to say, okay, they're gonna do this. They're on record that they're gonna do this.
Well, can I ask a question? If y'all are planning on building anyway, even if it remains in the county, then what's the benefit of y'all having it annexed in Homewood?
Sales value.
Homewood City Schools.
Better
Yeah.
schools, like I said, every
That's a
house.
selfish thing, but.
Yeah. Every house I have built has been in Homewood. and-
Great
Yeah,
neighbors.
we know that. Okay.
Hey, the community.
Yeah.
What does the committee want to do? What is the desire of the committee? There's all three of us. So-
Yeah.
Right, Andrew's not here, is he?
No, he left.
No, he
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Motion for approval. I'll make a motion for approval.
Motions have to be made in the positive.
He did, he said. he-
I know,
he said-
I'm explaining.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it has to be in the affirmative.
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
Right, just have a public hearing.
For May 26th.
Well, we don't know, cause that's Memorial Day, you gonna come?
Well, 19th. 19th.
I don't know that the
Don't know.
19th
You
covers
can make the
9
second
days.
and then don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
We will send it as soon as can if that's what the direction.
Okay, second.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed?
No.
No. All right, that motion fails, 0-3. Okay. Without objection, we're adjourned.